Law professor Kim Whaley joined me now with more on this breaking story. All right, Catherine, what do we know?
So essentially what the judge is saying here is that Elon Musk's attempts to unilaterally dismantle USAID likely violated the Constitution. And essentially that obviously is as it relates to Elon, but also any of his employees, those Doge employees who helped this dismantling of it. Now, what's important here is what the judge says. It's unclear what implications this will have long term, but what the judge did do is that for any current USAID employees or those on administrative leave, the judge says that essentially the email, payment, security notification, and all other electronic systems, I'm quoting from him here, need to be reinstated. So again, while the judge did rebuke, of course, Musk's role within the Trump administration and his role with Doge in dismantling unilaterally USAID, it's really not clear exactly the implications of this decision, and the operations of USAID remain unclear at this point. But surely a rebuke of Elon Musk and his role, which the judge believes is unconstitutional.
So, Kim, from a legal perspective, do you think we could see a domino effect here?
In theory, I mean, what the judge basically said is that there was nothing in the record showing that Elon Musk's decisions were actually ratified or approved by people higher up in the chain of command, such as Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is the de facto head of USAID. So my guess is that the Trump administration will come back and do that and will rubber stamp Musk's decision making. But I do think this is an important ruling and a message from the federal judiciary that this is unconstitutional. And it frankly, I agree with that. The court basically found that, the appointments clause of Article 2 requires Senate confirmation for someone exercising the kind of power that Elon Musk is exercising. In addition, the court found that it's Congress that decides how agencies function. Congress creates them, Congress dissolves them. So, it's unclear really if, like I said, my expectation is the Trump administration will come back and check that box. But I don't think it's going to make this problem go away for the Trump administration, because it really does undermine the foundation of the separation of powers, which is that everyone in the government who exercises significant authority should be accountable to the voters. Elon Musk is not. And that's a gaping hole in our constitutional structure. And one way or the other, I think this will go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, you do think it'll go all the way to the Supreme Court? So, I mean, there have been critics out there saying that we are in a constitutional crisis right now. Kim, as a law professor and someone who's been following how basically the courts have been flooded by all these firings and cuts and dismantling of certain organizations by Elon Musk, do you think we're in a constitutional crisis?
I think there's no question. I frankly, Kira, don't understand the argument that we're not in a constitutional crisis. What's a constitutional crisis? The accumulation of power in one place, one person, that is Donald Trump. The revolutionary people who fought the Revolutionary War did it to get rid of a king with unlimited power and broke that power up to 3 different branches. Trump and the Republicans in Congress have allowed this, has basically overridden Congress's prerogative, creating agencies, dissolving agencies, appointment, removal, the power of the purse, ignoring all of that. So that's taking that power from Congress. And we're also seeing pushback on judges, impeachment efforts for judges just following the law, the rule of law, and reporting that the Trump administration is ignoring federal court orders. That means someone in the government thinks that there's no accountability for him. That's not a democracy. That is unlimited power of one person. It's completely antithetical to our constitutional structure. So it's hard for me to, again, understand the argument we're not in a constitutional crisis if one guy can call all the shots and there's nobody who can stop him or even willing to push back in this moment.
Which brings us to the Supreme Court, Catherine. I mean, Chief Justice John Roberts weighed in on this case today. How do you see this playing out now with the highest court in the land?
Yeah, Kira, it's a good question. And he weighed in as it relates to President Trump and his allies calling on a separate judge in the D.C. District Court, Judge Boasberg, to be impeached because of his rulings as it related to the ordering the government to turn around those flights related to deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, and then further orders from the judge to essentially have the government provided more information on these deportations. So John Roberts did weigh in on Trump and administration officials calling for him to be impeached. And Roberts said, I'm going to quote this, he said, for more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. It's an extraordinary statement from Roberts, who felt the need to come out as Trump and allies were responding to a ruling, to orders from a district judge, and solely on the basis that they just didn't like what the judge had to say or what the judge ruled. So as Kim mentioned, this idea of defying orders from a court, it will still remain in the bloodstream and be discussed. And with the backdrop, of course, of what John Roberts is saying about impeachment as Trump and allies continue to push that.
And we'll continue to cover it all. Catherine Faulders, Kim Whaley, thank you both.